You're listening to an XN Radio podcast.
Hello, friends. I just wanted to put a brief message here at the beginning of our show to say that Moody&D's episodes may feel a little darker than before. We still aim for a lighter air, but while we keep our stories relatively clean, they're not always for the faint of heart. Some of our stories may include violence and other darker imagery. It's important to note as well that not all of our players will always be playing characters who are exactly the heroes, and that not every action a player describes is something we morally endorse or support. More often than not, good stories must include dark or immoral topics and actions in order to create the conflict necessary to tell a good story. I mean, just look at the Bible. Some very evil things happened, but they tell an amazing story if you're just willing to stick through to the end. We promise, though, that we intend to keep our content free of foul language and any inappropriate content. With that being said, let's get on with the show. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Moody&D. Last week I mentioned that we had cameras, and we lost the video, but this week we have cameras. Christian, say hi to the cameras.
And we're going to lose something else.
No,
Hi.
please no. Let's not do that.
My
Look
name
at
is
the
Christian.
cameras.
Oh yes, hello. I am Christian.
I'm not the camera.
I'm just so mesmerized by you.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So, last we left off, Arc 3 concluded. The party had made their way through, oh goodness, I am completely blanking. It's been a long day, y'all, and I'm just going to be honest about it. The party left Tuzarek, made their way through the Visalok tribe. Adra picked up the prismatic blade, the body parts
You're just
of
recapping
Kuza.
all of Arc 3.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay.
The body parts of Kuza, still some blood of a regenerator. The party then tried to track down the group, saw that the tracks sort of went missing right around a place where you could go either to Orvisol or Kelvrad. Despite having some vague good information that the body parts of Kuza went to Orvisol, they went to Kelvrad instead, thinking they could grab allies, and they managed to, picking up Duvreg, a lizard folk fighter. Who are you waving to?
Kent.
Oh. He's early, my word.
Yeah, I know.
Picking up Duvreg, a lizard folk fighter who has joined them, weaker than them, however he may be. They then traveled to Orvisol, met with the leader, and were given the location of where the anti-party lieutenants and their leader,
The body parts of
Kuza and Kuza himself may be. They then tracked down Kuza and caught him mid-ritual. Kuza then spent
You never want to be caught mid-ritual. Never.
No, it always ends terribly.
It's like in the bathroom.
What?
Never want to be caught midstream.
Continuing rapidly on, moving swiftly along, the party dispatched of Kuza. Kuza transformed not spectral, gems, blue wings. My word. My brain is
What was
fried,
it?
you
Topaz? Top hat?
Top hat? Just wings made of top hats just unfurled from his back.
And he starts chugging them at our heads.
There's a Super Mario Odyssey villain that does that, though. Like, that's a whole function of throwing top hats.
D&D, everybody. Next BBG.
No. You manage to completely dispatch of Jalek. Satori lays on the ground dying. Surtho is tied up so well.
And awaiting his demise.
And that he could never escape. He has to roll a natural 20 to do so. And you look around at your party members. And as you're looking around, you feel a sudden and sharp pain in the side of your neck. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay, good that I am not proficient with those.
That's good.
That is a 21.
21. Okay. Give me just a sec to make a note.
What did Kuza do to me? Never trust lizards. Remember, kids. Stay in school.
As you feel a sharp pain inside of your neck, your vision starts to go fuzzy. And you feel yourself falling and everything goes dark.
Okay. Yeah.
You open your eyes. And you don't know where you just were. You're here. You've been here forever. You look around. You know this brickwork? It's the cell.
I know the bars that are in front of me.
You know the just faint light 200 feet down the way.
Yeah. The old mat that hasn't been changed in years.
Mm-hmm.
And the bucket that is
also not been changed.
Also not been changed in years.
Because
and just carcasses upon carcasses of rats.
Yep.
Piled up in one corner.
Because you were forgotten. You eventually just hid so well that they forgot you were here.
Mm-hmm. I'm probably just sitting in the corner humming to myself.
Mm-hmm. You sit there humming. There's the dripping of some source of water, whatever water you've been surviving off of. Contaminated though it may be, it's water. You'll take it.
When I'm really thirsty, yeah.
Yep. You look around. Everything's the same it's been for 10, 12 years. You don't know how long. Except there's a brick out of place in the far right corner of the room from where you are. Or not necessarily out of place. There's something wrong with it. Give me a perception check.
That, my friend, is a crisp 14.
14? It's the wrong color.
I know every inch of that cell.
Perfectly.
How would I have ever missed that?
It's right there.
I'd probably just sit there for, I don't know, a long time. Time doesn't really exist for me anymore.
Yeah.
At this point. And then after I hear the chatter of conversation down the hall kind of disappear,
yeah,
I will slowly crawl over to the brick.
Yeah.
And I'll try pulling at it.
You try pulling at it. It's still...
Is my body aching? No, I had been already forgotten by this point.
You'd been already forgotten by this
so
point.
I just take it out.
Yeah. I mean, you're aching, but from malnourishment more than anything else. You reach for the brick, but it's firm in place. You, by the way, do have all your spells and all your levels.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay. Do I have all of my clothing on?
No, you don't have all of your clothing on. You're in the ratty clothes that you were left in, but you know that all these arcane capabilities, which you hadn't quite figured out by the time you were here, like, it's weird. You're like, I know that this exists, but this version of me shouldn't
know this.
But even that, like, even the recognition that this is a version of you is such a deep subconscious thought that it doesn't have a word. You're just like, this is irregular. Yeah. I have an ability.
But because of the state of mind that I'm in.
Right. The brick's a different color. You have ways of remedying color.
Oh, yeah. I'll cast it's late, guys. Prestidigitation on it.
You cast prestidigitation. You make it the right color.
I just kind of just glide my hand over it.
Right over it. It becomes the right color. And as you glide your hand over it, slowly the brick sort of decays, as though it's being warped and dragged away by something outside of space and time. And you can see through a hole that the brick has created in this wall to the cell across from yours. I mean, there's never been anything down here insofar as you knew. You really were never outside this cell-a-ton, and you look through and there's a chest of some kind with a key sitting right on top of it. That's odd.
I'll use Mage Hand to first float the key over to myself.
Yeah. The key lifts up, and it's a small key. And you know the limitations of Mage Hand. You know that this thing can only lift 10 pounds. You know that somehow this key is right on the verge of not being liftable.
So it's like really heavy.
Yes, which is strange, because the key is maybe this big.
Yeah.
I love that we have cameras now. They know how
We
big
don't have
this
to
big
explain
is.
things anymore.
I don't have to say, oh, right, that's about 3-4 inches. It's about this big. And it floats over to you, and the Mage Hand has it floating in front of you.
I'll drop it into my hand.
You drop it into your hand. That is burning.
Okay, drop it.
Immediate instinct is to drop it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's burning you as a tiefling is immediately like, ha! That's not supposed to do that.
Does it leave a mark?
Very faintly.
Okay. I'm gonna grab part of my rags and I'm going to tear some of them off and then cover it up.
Yep. You cover up.
And again with Mage Hand, I'm gonna pick up the key and just float it in front of my face.
Yep. You float the key in front of your face. Make a perception check for me.
That's a nat one. To a total of 5.
I'm going to say you have advantage on this because it's very easy to notice.
Yeah. That's an 8.
An 8 is enough. An 8 is enough. You notice on the key, there's some sort of script. You can't quite read what it is. A higher perception check would have given you text. At the very least,
Do I
you
at least
see what the script
recognize the language?
The language is infernal.
I don't think I've ever learned how to read Infernal.
Yeah. There's something intrinsic in you that knows how it's written, though.
Yeah. Like, I recognize I would say
Yes.
that I would recognize the word pattern.
Yes.
But not the letters themselves.
Yeah. There's a key in a semblance of your hand.
Yeah. How stable does the wall look?
The wall looks... It looks relatively stable. I mean, this entire section is relatively forgotten. People don't really pass by here anymore because the assumption is every single one of these cells is empty. And so it probably has been corroded a little bit. Like, in your state, you couldn't push it, but maybe you have a magical effect that might be able to push it, or you might have something else that can do damage to it.
Do I still have the same amount of spell slots I had at the end of Arc 3, or do I have all of them?
You have your full rest.
Full rest.
Yes.
Okay.
For the sake of mechanics, right now you have a full rest.
I'm gonna still on all fours crawl over to the corner that I was in previously in the shadow, and I'm just going to sit there, stare at the wall. And as I begin to hum again, I will cast Shatter at 3rd level.
Okay. You cast Shatter at 3rd level. Don't mark off a spell slot.
Okay.
As you cast Shatter, you know this should be draining you physically. Again, like in the state that you were in at the time that this dream feels like it's taking place, you wouldn't have had spell slots of that level. But there's still an intrinsic, almost a sixth sense that you develop as a spellcaster, where you know when that energy passes through your body. You know what it feels like to pull energy through the weave and to use yourself as a conduit for it. And you don't feel that conduit happen. It just and the wall collapses. Not wanting to scrape my knees more than they already are, or more afraid of the gravel. Yep.
I'm going to attempt to stand up.
Okay. I'm going to let you make the call here. I would imagine in this state your strength is nowhere near what it like. I would imagine right about now you have maybe a strength of 5 or 6.
Yeah. Definitely not a constitution of 19.
No.
If I don't have my amulet.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to make you make a check for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that you can do it with difficult movement. However, with your natural constitution, which is not the 19, but it's whatever you have before the item.
14.
I want you to make a constitution saving throw.
Okay.
Because while your muscles might technically be able to get your body over there eventually, there is a certain point where you are so malnourished that you just can't.
Yeah. I think that I would attempt to stand up, then fall back down to my knees.
Yep.
Scrape my knees, which makes me very, very irritated.
Yep.
And then I would probably start going, like, trying to stand up alongside the wall and then just trace the wall. My constitution saving throw was a 14.
Okay. 14 is good.
With my old constitution.
Yes. Yeah, and you use the wall as a way to prop yourself up as you're making your way over there.
Avoiding the bars. So I would even take the long...
Yes, that's what I figured you were doing.
Yeah.
And you take your long way and you're pacing it, doing everything you can to divide the weight amongst all 4 of your limbs. But again, not wanting to scrape anything further than you can manage surviving.
Trying to keep the unscarred parts of me unscarred.
Yes. You make it over to the chest. It takes a good minute.
Would I still have the mental power to continue concentrating on, like, mage hand following me? Okay.
Yeah, because really the way I see it, you've been in here, your body has deteriorated, but you're still the king.
Oh yeah.
You're still the king.
For years I've been the king.
What matters now is not that your body is here, because your mind is still here. Your mind is where the king is contained. You'll get the body back eventually. The king is still here.
Oh yeah.
So your mind is still held enough to concentrate.
Oh, it's held onto the one thought that has been, from that one day, from that one moment, that thought, I've been holding on to it, and that's what's given me the resolve to wait.
Yep.
To be patient.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll probably just kind of, like, slowly edge my way to the chest and sit down, take a breath.
While I'm assuming you're within 5 feet of this chest, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Closer even than that.
I need you to... I'm going to say make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. It's a 15.
Okay, 15. Definitely.
Wait, how do I have a +2 to wisdom? I don't. 14. Never
14.
mind.
Okay, cool. Even with a 14, still, this is not a difficult TC. There is a thrumming from this chest, this pulsing wave that just sort of is exuding that you couldn't feel before you got this close to it. And it feels like something long lost, almost ancient. And there is, I'm going to say a 14 is high enough to identify what it feels like. It's not high enough to resist the immediate
pull.
No, not pull.
Oh.
Fear.
Okay.
There's something in this chest that you know is very valuable, but very powerful. And it's one of those things where, and you would almost never admit this, but subconsciously there's almost a thought. I won't say there is a thought. I'll leave that to you. There's almost a thought of, this may be more power than even I can keep in control. But you know inside that chest is power of some kind.
Okay. There's going to be a moment of hesitation for sure.
Yep.
As I kind of inch towards the chest, the moment I feel that pulse, I'm kind of going to almost fall over.
Yep. Yeah, and it hits you like a wave because it is coming in pulses.
Yeah.
It's not coming in like half moments. It's washing over you the same way that like extremely massive sound waves are almost visible. That sort of effect.
Yeah.
But you don't see it affecting any of the space around it, anything else.
Except
it's
for me.
Just you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm almost going to fall over, but I'm going to keep myself steady on the wall.
Yep.
And I'm just going to inch back into the nearest corner.
Yep.
And I'm going to sit down, and I'm just going to stare at the chest for a moment.
Yep.
Again, don't know how long I sit there, probably an hour, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Just watching it. And as that thought kind of comes to my mind that it might be more power than I can handle, I consciously push it back and trying to kind of muster up the courage to open that chest.
Okay.
And it takes a while before I finally kind of just shake my head. I get up again and slowly, inch by inch, once the wave hits me, I'm going to stop for a second, and then I'm going to continue inch by inch.
Okay.
Until I'm right by the chest. I'm going to crawl over to the front of it.
Yeah.
And while I'm looking at it, I'm going to have the mage hand open it.
Okay. The mage hand puts the key in, and there's a turn and a click. The key's not done the full 180 rotation yet, but there's been a single click, and you notice that sort of popping out of the side, there appears to be almost something that feels like it might be like a side door or something like that you could be able to open now.
I'm going to have the mage hand open it.
Okay.
Remembering how it seared my hand.
Yeah. And I will again say that like the key is not all the way turned. That doesn't mean that you didn't feel like you couldn't turn it further at some point in the future.
Oh, okay.
But just that this is the point that it has gotten to right now.
Okay.
Use the mage hand to open that door. And there's a blank face in front of you. Like it's almost as if the door has opened into nothing.
Is it, sorry, if I'm standing right in front of it?
So if you're standing right in front of it, it is on the right side, like a door has like opened up.
Yeah.
But the door has led to almost just a blank piece of wood.
Okay.
And you're looking at it. Make an investigation check for me.
Come on, that should be good. Oh. Investigation. That is a dirty 20.
Okay. Dirty 20. Easily enough. You find there is just a very, very, like, it's almost like this was...
Sorry, as I'm doing the investigation check.
Yes.
I probably won't even be doing this. My body just immediately, I will cast Armor of Agathis on myself.
Yeah.
At 4th level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Just this subconscious
yeah.
washes right over you.
Kind of in between the scaly parts of my skin, they start filling with like this blue, almost icy energy.
Yes. Yep. And as you're looking at this wood, a king knows quality when he sees it. This is a very well-made chest, very intentionally crafted and designed to keep whatever it is holding hidden from any person who would try to unlock it. Almost imperceptible on this blank face is a very thin strip of wood which almost perfectly matches the grain and is almost flush as though it was laser carved. I don't know if you've seen like water laser carving where it's like the metal is so perfectly flush that when you put it together it looks like it's one unit. Yep. And you just barely manage.
So wait, I thought the chest was made out of wood.
The chest is made out of wood.
Oh, okay, so
I'm
it's
using
two pieces of wood.
Yes, I'm using the example of metal because
yeah.
you can't do it with wood normally.
So it's even weirder.
Yes, it's completely impossible and also Klaus wouldn't even know about the metal carving thing.
Yeah.
So they just look almost completely flush, but you find if you put your finger on the far left side of that blank face of wood and apply just enough pressure, you can slide the entire thing down as though it was designed to fall through. And you see there's now a handle revealed for you to open up the side of this chest. And as you've peeled away layers, it's almost like the thrumming has gotten louder from one side of the chest. As though like the chest is almost functioning to contain something.
Mm-hmm.
And you are slowly peeling away layers.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a ray of frost prepare that just kind of probably not consciously, just my entire hand becomes covered in ice.
Okay.
Only kind of leaving the inside of it so that I can still bend my fingers. And I'm gonna reach in for the handle and start opening it.
Yep. Yeah, very easily. This handle's not burning you. The keys seem to be doing that pretty specifically. And you pull the handle. Are you going to pull the door completely open?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You pull the door completely open. And you find a storybook. And there's a small portion of you that immediately recognizes this, but another person that's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And do you open it? This is you're holding a book in your hands.
I'm holding a book in my hands. What does the cover look like?
The cover is this intricate piece of artwork depicting the Marcellian landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Depicting, you can see in the art there is the Bluthold, the massive mountain nearly in the center of Marcel. You see just sort of the roaring wastes, a space that you were vaguely familiar with. And what languages can you read?
Common. Well, right now, after this many years in the cell, I probably would have forgotten most of how to read, but the languages that I know are Common, Infernal, and Draconic.
I would say there is... I'm going to say, because of weird time stuff, you do still know how to read all your languages.
Yeah. No.
Is there a language that Klaus considers his native tongue, his heart tongue?
I don't. Definitely not Draconic. That's just magic.
Yes.
That's what he learned from Kuza. I want to say Common. I just don't know. I just don't know what he would have spoken with his mother, because that probably would have been intrinsically.
It probably would have been Common.
Okay. Yeah. So probably Common.
All right. So just written in the written on it is the title, Stories for Klaus.
Oh, shoot. The moment I see the words, I'm gonna drop the book.
You drop the book.
I'm gonna drop the book.
It hits the floor.
And
nothing should have your name on it.
Nothing should have my name on it. I am immediately casting Burning Hands on it.
You cast Burning Hands on it.
Not even thinking about the fact that I am probably in the way. I'm just, or even as I'm holding it, I'm going to cast Burning Hands.
Yes, yeah, you cast Burning Hands on it. The fire shoots out from your hands. It would hit you and it would burn you, but it doesn't burn here. And the book remains unscathed.
Okay. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to drop it.
You drop it.
And I'm going to crawl back into my corner.
You crawl back into your corner.
And the book just lays there.
The book lays there.
Okay. Again, I would probably spend days just sitting there staring at it.
Yep. And it feels like ages. Like time doesn't exist, but with the introduction of this, time starts to feel a little bit like it
because
exists.
even just the little routines that I've created of catching the rats, of drinking the water, of holding out, like standing still when I hear guards coming by, all of those things. The songs that I'm repeating to myself, the poems that I'm repeating to myself, all of that is, I'm doing it, but my gaze consistently shoots back to the book.
Yep.
And in the back of my mind, there's just this insistent chatter.
Yep.
at some point I would probably start inching, like doing my routine closer to it and closer to it and closer to it. Do I still feel that pulse from the chest?
Because you've knocked down the wall, the pulse is, I mean, the further away you are, the less powerful it is. Like, to give a metric to it, almost like without sound, obviously, because, it's not making noise, but the distinction between, like, the way that sound pulses through you, the way, like, you can feel sound. There is, like, this is a literal mathematical fact that I was lucky enough to learn in one of my classes. Sound, the volume of sound goes down by the square of the distance. And so basically, if you take a foot back, it goes down by 1, or et cetera. And so the closer you are, the more you feel that reverberation, and it hits you. But you do feel it even at the edges of the room.
Okay. Do I have... I forgot to ask this before I even dropped the book. Do I have any recollection of something like this existing?
No.
Okay.
No, this is not... This is... I mean...
Nothing should have my name on it.
Well, nothing should have your name on it because, if you think about...
Especially not Nick Klaus.
Right. Well, and if you think about your upbringing, if you think about...
which is a vague fog at this
point.
Right,
which is a vague fog, but even if we just look at that, you wouldn't have even owned books. They're not cheap enough for you to acquire. So that's not something that you could have owned. There's no reason this book would ever exist.
All stories that I ever heard or knew were made up.
Yes.
So there's still a pulse coming from the chest.
There's still a pulse coming from the chest, and how obviously Klaus wouldn't quite perceive this time. How long would you, Christian, say Klaus leaves it?
Probably like a week.
Okay.
Probably like a good week.
After about 2 days, you notice that the book isn't there, but the door, like the first door on the chest, is still open.
So the book is gone?
The book is, no, because effectively what you've seen is there was a first door that opened and a second door that opened, and then the book was sitting on the ground. You've noticed the book, like, after the second day, the book was like, if you had gone over to examine, would you do that if you saw the book was not where you left it?
Yeah.
The book was inside the 2 doors now. The 2 doors were still open, but the book was inside.
Okay.
So we'll start there rather than going, you left it a week. That's the first thing that would happen.
While seeing that, consciously he would think somebody else is there. So he would hide immediately.
Yeah, you hide.
After a little bit, he would kind of start inching around, trying to see if there's anyone there, if anybody noticed anything.
Yeah.
And then walk up to the book and see, just look if there's anything different, like from up close.
Nothing's different up close. It's the exact same book that you held in your hands and tried to incinerate yesterday. Exactly the same book.
Yeah, he'd probably still wait a couple more days.
Okay.
Unless something else happens.
You don't touch the book?
Don't touch the book.
The next day, the first door shuts.
Okay.
And you're starting to notice that the longer you leave it, the more shut away it will get.
Shoot. Does it feel like the pulse is coming from the book?
It feels like the pulse is coming from the chest. Like it's emanating from the entire thing. By opening the doors, it almost felt like the pulse got subdivided. Like it was coming out from the front, it was coming out from the side. The chest is against a wall, so it's coming out from one end, out from the left, and out from the right. And as you open the doors on the right, the book began pulsing as well, more specifically.
Okay. Then after that, next day, so after 2 days, he would walk up, I would walk up, I'd grab the book, and I would take it out from the inside.
Yep.
Open up the very first page.
You flip the cover, and you turn the first page, and there's a story of this history. Or is it a history? It's a story of Omersell, of
Oh yeah, and I recognize the picture of Omar Zell
Yes.
on the cover.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, you recognize that it's a depiction of Marcel. And I'm going to just slowly start giving you elements of the story until you tell me to stop.
I would probably just read the first page.
Okay, first page. It's interesting because this sounds like a story that was written for a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells the story of a great king who was benevolent and kind and good, and it starts to set up this story. And at the end of the page, there's an introduction of an evil general. And I would like you to give me a history check with disadvantage.
Okay. Yeah, nat 1.
Nat 1. Even with a nat 1.
To a total of 4.
Okay, great. That check was to determine some other elements. There is a part of you that knows you recognize this story, but you can't tell from what.
Okay.
Do you stop at the end, and what do you do at this point? You've read the first page.
No, I'm going to continue. I'm waiting for that benevolent king to die.
Yes. You turn the next page, and you're now looking at 2 pages. And the evil general develops a coup to overthrow the king.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the second page, the general has taken the king and has him at knife point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you continue reading?
Yeah.
All right.
The next page.
Well, this is just the first page. The third page is in.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you meant that I read both of them.
Yes. No. We're starting with. I'm going literally page by page.
Awesome.
Third page. There bursts into the room one of the king's advisors, who leaps in between the king and the general and saves the king.
Mm-hmm.
And the general is banished. And you feel something in your mind pushing, almost as though it's trying to get to the forefront of your mind. There's something that you have the power right now. You have the ability.
Mm-hmm.
It's pushing. You have the ability to let it loose.
What does it feel like?
It feels like something lost. That's the best way I can describe it. It feels like something that has been almost forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Ignoring that feeling, I'm going to flip to the next page.
You flip to the next page. And now that so the first 3 pages were the story.
Mm-hmm.
The page on the left is blank. And the right page tells a story of how there was a celebration thrown in the advisor's honor, and nobody remembered the general.
I'm going to think that that's ridiculous.
Yep.
That if the king was stupid enough to give someone access to him, to give that general access to him, he should have died.
Mm-hmm.
That is the natural order. That is how things are supposed to be.
You feel something pushing.
You
again can ignore it. You flip to the next
flip the next page.
It's blank. The next page, blank, 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 blank.
So the entire book, the rest of the book is just blank?
The rest of the book is blank.
Okay, I am going to take that book and just chug it against the wall.
Yeah, you take it. You throw it against the wall. The book hits the wall, falls, and the thrumming that you felt coming from that book, that thing that you knew to be power, fades from the book.
Okay.
It goes monochrome.
Okay. After it goes monochrome, I'm just gonna start crying and screaming and cast Burning Hands again on the book.
It burns.
And just continuously just standing over it, streams of fire coming from my hands.
Yes.
As I'm just yelling at the top of my lungs and just incinerating it.
Yep.
Is that feeling still in my mind? Something trying to push through?
Yes. Before, it felt like it originated from the book. Give me a
Wisdom saving throw.
not a wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
Give me an insight check.
That will be an 8.
An 8's enough.
Wait, sorry, a 9 because it's +2.
9 is also enough. Because Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Maybe. A 9 is also enough.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that the pushing is still there,
Mm-hmm.
but this pushing is it's weakened.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it is breaking necessarily, or that it is being defeated, but that it has been, I think the best word is it's almost as though it feels rejected, but that it's not willing yet to go away.
Okay.
The book is burned.
Yeah. Angry.
Yes.
I'm going to walk over to the chest and
Yep.
not caring about the fact that the key is searing me. I'm going to continue.
Yep. You tick it once more, and that's as far as it's willing to go right now. Another thing opens up on the other side.
Mhm.
Easy enough. You know the trick.
Yeah, I tear into it.
Yes, you tear into it. Inside is a children's toy.
What does it look like?
It's this interesting little it's a doll
Mm-hmm.
of a
Like a rag doll?
kind of a rag doll.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I want you to make a perception check.
That's an 8. Lots of 8s today.
And 8's enough. A lot of these checks are only 5s. I'm just making them to make sure. I just want to know if you like fully don't see it.
Yeah.
Actually, give me your passive perception. We'll save some time.
My passive perception is a 14.
Great. That's good to know. We'll use that in the future.
Okay.
There's the doll's right arm appears to have a different color stitching to it, as though it was reattached at some
Mhm.
point.
As though it was kind of ripped apart and somebody reattached it.
Yes.
What color is the stitching?
It's this white stitching.
Okay.
And again, you got it to the point where you could ignore it.
Mm-hmm. And then it
But
just
that
pushes
pushing
back. Mhm.
is back. That thrumming is blasting you in the face.
Just upset. I was promised power in this chest,
Mm-hmm.
and all I'm getting is children's toys.
Yep.
I'm gonna take it, chug it behind me, walk over to the chest, and flip it again.
Okay, you chuck it behind you. That one's still thrumming.
Mm-hmm.
You turn the last one, and the top of the chest pops open.
Mm-hmm.
No extra tricks here. Inside rests a lute with 4 strings instead of 5. And this was all the other ones, they were more incremental. It felt like, oh, well, that's just a tiny thing. I can ignore it. The pushing is violent now. You can still resist it. You're the king. Nothing controls you.
The moment I see the lute, I'm casting darkness centered on myself.
You cast darkness.
I
You can't see
I
anything.
can't see anything.
You are in total darkness.
And I'm going to collapse on the floor.
Yeah.
And weep.
You-
Just kind of hitting myself in the head, trying to get that pushing from
Yes.
just these. I'm guessing some images would start flashing in my mind.
You tell me the images that start flashing in your mind.
Just the flute, the storybook,
Yes.
not the storybook, but kind of the words of these stories
Yes.
and that ragdoll.
Yes.
They all start just kind of almost like in a boxing ring, but you know they've lost, and somebody just
Yes.
continues pounding on you.
Yep. And you're sitting in darkness. You've fallen to your knees.
Oh no!
No?
Fetal position, like full fetal
Okay.
position.
Okay. You're in the fetal position. Your arms are wrapped around your legs. Would you tell me, are you weeping or screaming? Or
Screaming. Both.
Okay. Darkness lasts
An hour, I believe.
10 minutes, I think.
You are right. 10 minutes.
And
I'm gonna keep recasting it.
you cast it because this energy isn't being expended.
Yeah.
It's not being expended. You're just sitting in the dark now.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is again innate to me.
Yes.
So even there, probably the first cast was very
Yeah, you didn't even think about it. It just occurred, and when it fell, you brought it back up because you were
Mhm.
like, I'm not ready for that
Yeah.
yet. How long do you spend in the darkness?
pretty darn long time, guys. At some point, the screaming turns into sobbing. The sobbing turns into sniffles, and I'm guessing that my eyes just dry out.
Yeah.
By that-
Your screaming turned into sobbing.
Mm-hmm.
By the time your screaming turned into sobbing, because you were weeping while you were screaming,
Mm-hmm.
and you were so malnourished that by the time you finished sobbing, your sobbing turned into sniffles because you ran out of water to cry.
At that point, I feel even mentally I'd be too exhausted to keep recasting
Yeah.
the spell, so it would just drop, and I'd just
Yes.
be staring at that chest at this point.
Yep. And you're staring at the chest. The chest is tall enough that you can't see the loot entirely, but there is enough from where the top lifted off that you can see just the faint line of the 4 strings over the top of what you have visible to you.
Can I hear talking in the hall?
No. And it occurs to you in this moment that you haven't heard talking in, I mean, it's been 2.5 days. You haven't heard talking since you opened the chest.
Gonna reach inside,
You reach inside,
grab the loot,
you grab the loot.
and for now I'm just gonna be sitting, crawl back into the corner, sitting there, just clutching it with my entire person.
Yeah.
The wood feels familiar.
Yeah.
The feeling of the strings just feels familiar.
Yes.
And I'm gonna take it into my hands and I'm gonna start plucking it.
Yep.
And it's almost like my hands never left the loot. I just start playing a song that I thought I had forgotten for a long time, but I kept humming it and humming it.
Yeah.
I need to make a decision.
I will say,
I hate Yuri's.
That's fine. A lot of people do.
I know what he's doing, although I don't.
So I'm going to recenter my mic now that I noticed I'm off center. As you're holding the loot, the pushing has gotten, it went like it was violent.
Mm-hmm.
And when you picked up the loot, it calmed down a little.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it stopped,
Mm-hmm.
but that it wasn't violent.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to make... I want you to just make a straight, not charisma, wisdom. I want you to make a straight wisdom check.
Okay. 6.
Do you have any adversity points you want to spend on this?
I got 5. I can spend all 5.
I will tell you that, and I will tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Verbatim,
going to give you a mechanics thing.
Mm-hmm.
The DC on this check is 10.
Okay.
You know that in this moment, you have the ability to understand this pushing much more, on a much more intimate sense than you do at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to understand this pushing.
Like to kind of consciously figure out what it is without
Not
letting it through.
Yes, to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
You know there's something that's familiar about this pushing, and you have the ability to identify what is familiar without letting it through.
I'm going to do that. So
spend your 4 adversity points. Okay. You can spend them all if you so desire.
I'll spend all of them.
You wipe. You drop all the adversity points.
Because I would have done so without the information that you gave me. So
yep. You realize this pushing has had sound this entire time. Not just sound, but pitch. Not just pitch, but rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And not just sound, pitch, rhythm, voice. A long, long forgotten voice. You know this voice. The sweetest woman ever to live. You haven't let it through. You're holding a loot because you threw it behind you when you found it, not but 5 feet from your position currently is
the ragdoll.
And in the corner are the ashes of a book you burned a few days ago.
Do I have the recollection of what happened in Orvisol? Or all of my travels? Or is this...
Here's what I will tell you.
Yeah.
You cannot actively recall it.
Okay.
But subconsciously, there's a deep, deep, deep part of your mind that you cannot bring to words verbatim, but you know it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll add, when you picked up the loot, it flashed 2 memories, almost.
Yeah.
And you know what those 2 memories are.
Are you talking about...
There's when you learned to play the flute, or lute initially, and when you found a lute in Kelfrod.
Yeah.
Both of those appear. Obviously, the former overpowers the latter.
Mm-hmm.
But for a half second, it's in there. Not enough for you to identify it or see it, but enough that you're in this weird dreamlike state where there both is and is not knowledge of what happened before your vision went dark.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're describing.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Do I see a face? Do I see a face when that first memory, that initial memory comes back?
Of the voice?
Of the voice, yeah. I'm not talking about the pushing. I'm talking about the memory that
Yes,
you said
like
that I had
like
when I picked up the loot.
when oh, that.
Yeah.
Um
Or is it just kind of like a...
I will say you at this point just based on the memories you had, there was a I will give you the image that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You saw your purple hand reaching around
Mm-hmm.
the neck of the lute,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw another larger purple hand reaching around the neck of the lute to form a cord. And as that image flashed, there was just half a flash of this peach skin, but it went back to purple.
Okay. As that recognition comes, I'm letting it through.
You let it through?
The push. Probably as I'm plucking and that recognition begins to come of the voice, and I'm starting to understand.
Yeah.
And not really knowing who it is, but knowing that I know it.
Yes.
Subconsciously, I let it through.
As you let it through, you are not in the cell anymore. You are in this sort of somewhat grayscaled dirt road place, whether it's a dirt road or a hut. That sort of space is still foggy, and you're holding this broken toy, this rag doll with an arm off, and you see a purple tiefling woman, much larger than you in this memory, as you're holding the doll up, and the woman looks down at you and says, "Oh, my Klaus, we can still fix it." And you are walked through this memory of this woman that is sewing the arm back on, and for half a second as you're watching her sew the arm back on, you look up at the face not unlike your own, and there's just a flash where it's replaced with a peach face with dark brown hair, and then a flash back to the dark purple skin, the large horns much like your own. Then a flash to a small fire as you are told a story of a king who is saved by his advisor, and the phrase, "And nobody remembered the general." And you look up into the eyes of a purple-skinned tiefling woman, black eyes, which flashes for half a second, and you see these bright blue irises, peach skin, brown hair, flash back to tiefling, flash back to, you look at the ears.
Yeah. I'm guessing it kind of happens as I'm blinking.
Yes. And flash to you holding a lute. As your hand curls around the neck, and another hand curls around the neck to show you the position of a cord. And the hand flashes to peach, flashes to purple, flashes to peach, flashes to purple, and you look up into the eyes of your mother, this purple-skinned tiefling woman. And it flashes to peach skin, brown hair, bright blue irises, the warmest smile you have ever seen. And you're back in the cell, holding a lute. The ashes, a storybook, much thinner, no blank pages, and a ragdoll to your left.
As the flashes stop, I will let go of the lute and it will drop to the floor. Very, very unnerving sound when a guitar or any stringed instrument hits the ground.
Oh, it's horrendous.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
But I don't even flinch.
Yeah.
Tears running down my cheeks.
Yep.
And petrified, I just kind of stand there. And then I pick up the lute.
Yeah.
And with a silent rage, I begin smashing it into the wall.
Yeah.
Smash, smash until there's only a handle left in my hand. I continue hitting it. At this point, just hitting it with my skin, hitting the wall, punching the wall, and then I hit it with an open hand.
Yeah.
Flames erupt across the wall.
Yeah.
And I begin to one hand fire, the other hand ice. Burn this entire place to the ground with me inside of it.
And as your hands go out from your sides, fire on one side, ice on the other, the fire incinerates the entire right side of you. Not just the walls, but it seems like the entire thing is burned up and replaced with darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And the ice goes out and freezes everything, and the ice shatters, and your left is replaced with darkness. And you're in this black, empty void.
At this point, I was silent the entire time. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't sobbing. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't even crying.
Yeah.
I was going to fall to my knees, kind of sparks and ice still crumbling off of my palms as I hide my face in my palms, completely bend over, and just start weeping.
Yeah.
My cries echoing through the darkness, coming back to me, empty.
Yep.
As I'm alone.
And as you're weeping, you feel a pain in your neck. And darkness can't go fuzzy, but your mind can, and it goes black. And that's where we're going to end our episode of Moody&D.
Awesome.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
next
much.
week.
Have a
Bye-bye,
good
friends.
week. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for joining us this week on Moody&D. You can catch our live stream on XN Radio at xnradio.cc or on the XN Radio app every Saturday at 2 p.m. CST. Or you can pop on over to our Spotify or Apple Podcasts to catch the episode the following Monday at 10 a.m. CST. Also be sure to follow our Instagram at Moody_N_D. Once again, that's the @ symbol, Moody_, the letter N _ the letter D. That's all for this week, folks. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, friends.